Heat fans, I gave you guys a challenge on Saturday's video when we were talking about draft targets of who could comment HBD the most. Well, that turned out to be my guy, Monty 2K. Shout out to Monty down below. He commented 23 times on that video, so shout out to Monty. But I want to know if anyone is beating that, and if you do beat that on comments on this show, you will get a shout out later on in the week. So spam those fireballs and light up the chat. See who's going to beat that record. All right, welcome into the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and in today's show, we are talking about a Tyler Herro trade, and is one looming in this offseason or in the next few weeks, if you could say that, before the NBA draft. Because, well, we do have an interesting note that we have to talk about. I don't know if we have to, but it's news and rumors by Heat Report, so we're going to talk about it, man. Herro is selling his Miami mansion. But by the way, shout out to Tyler because he bought it for 10.5. At least that's what it was reported at a year ago, and he's selling it for 13 mil now. So that's a nice little investment for our guy Tyler Herro. But I will say this: a lot of fans started to say, "Well, if he's selling his home in Miami, is he going to be on the move?" I'm not going to overreact to anything like this. He's likely just going to upgrade his living situation because, well, he's getting more money with that contract coming in, and obviously he's getting more endorsements, so he's probably just going to try to upgrade his crib as he builds his family. I'll also say this: even if he does get traded away from the Miami Heat this offseason, he's always said how much he likes Miami and is going to probably have a house in the city no matter what team he plays for. And I did want to share this note as well, and some of y'all might laugh, but my guy Chef Trilly, hashtag, or technically Austin, y'all keep tagging me in this. This means nothing. He said many times Miami is going to be his home no matter what happens. Probably just getting a bigger crib. And the reason why I did want to show this is, listen, Austin, he's not no insider, but he is one of the best follows on Heat Twitter. So if you haven't followed him, go give him a follow alongside yours truly. But Austin is tight with Tyler. Like, they hang out. Like, he's been to some of the private workouts Herro's held in the offseason. He's not going to air out what Tyler has in plan or what his personal life is, but people do need to calm down. This is more of just probably a life decision, not actually him getting dealt away from the Miami Heat. But I'll tell you what, though, we'll have it covered on the channel. Make sure you are subscribed for all the Heat news and rumors because, hey, if he does get dealt, we'll have a video, and we'll actually probably go live for Tyler Herro being traded away, whether it be for Donovan Mitchell or any trade that is made by Pat Riley. So hit that sub button. Let's climb closer to 12K. But I do want to use this time on today's show to talk about a Tyler Herro trade and why I think the Miami Heat do need to trade Tyler Herro. Even though I don't think that signifies anything with the house on sale, I think Pat Riley should make this move. And listen, Herro's been solid for Miami over the last 4 seasons in the regular season. The 13th pick in the 2019 NBA draft has done nothing short of exceed expectations for Miami over the last 4 seasons. He won Sixth Man of the Year in 21-22, and he's had back-to-back years of averaging 20-plus points a game. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA as well, and even though he played 66 and 67 games in 21-22 and 22-23, he's always struggled to stay on the court, and that was really shown this past year when he only played about half the games. But the real issue that I have with Tyler, and I think most Heat fans have with Herro, is that he has notoriously struggled in the postseason. His career stats in the playoffs have not been pretty. He had a good run in the bubble as a rookie when he had 37 points in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics and averaged 16 points a game, but the other 3 years has been a struggle. Even when the Heat made the Eastern Conference Finals when he was Sixth Man of the Year, he did not play well, only averaging 12.5 points and shooting 23% from 3. He obviously did not play good in the year Miami got swept in the first round by Milwaukee, only averaging 9 points. It was a truly abysmal series by everyone involved. And then he did not play that well this past series against the Boston Celtics in the first round, only averaging 17 a game, and he was very inefficient, turned the ball over. He had that one game in Game 2 where he was unbelievably good, but the other 4 games, he wasn't good. And I think we do have to talk about this as well, is I think there's just fatigue with this big three. big three in quotation marks. They're not some massive big three, but they are the Heat's big three. And they've been at it for 5 straight seasons. This upcoming year would be the sixth, which it's also wild to think that this would be Tyler's sixth season in the NBA coming up, and it's Jimmy's sixth season with Miami. How about how quickly these past 5 years have flown by? But I just don't think you can play this out with those three guys as your leading trio for a sixth season, because there's too much fatigue with the front office. There's too much fatigue with those three guys. And there's always been questions if they really complement each other also, because whenever they make runs, someone always gets hurt, and they've never been able to get over the hump in terms of winning an NBA final. So I don't know if I can do a sixth year with Tyler, Jimmy, and Bam. I don't think the Heat want to do a sixth year either. That is just my little hunch. But what say you? Get your opinion on the matter. Should the Heat trade Tyler Herro? Type Y for yes, type N for no. It is today's pinned comment, so make sure you go down and give a vote below. I think when we talk Tyler Herro potential trade, you always have to look at what his contract is and what it looks like. Well, Herro's got 3 years left on his deal after the first year of his extension kicked in last season, where he got 4 for $120 million. Well, he makes 29 this upcoming season, 31 the following year, and then 33 in his final season before becoming an unrestricted free agent in 2027 and 2028. Now, there's a lot of pros and cons to this contract, if you ask me, and I want to talk about them in terms of a potential trade. Well, the number one pro is that his salary is floating around $30 million, which means it's a good salary to move in a trade for an All-NBA or All-Star caliber of player, because obviously if you're making a deal for another All-Star and All-NBA type guy, those players are going to be making $35-40 million. So you will never have an issue trying to match salary if Tyler Herro is included in the deal, because he will eat up most of the salary you need to match. Now, there is a con to this contract. There are still 3 years left, and that could be looked at as a pro as well. If you're a team that values Tyler Herro and wants Tyler, well, you have him for 3 more years. But there is a flip side. Well, not everybody wants Tyler Herro on their roster. And if they have to have him for 3 seasons, if you trade him this offseason for around $30 million a year, that probably won't be that enticing. But if you wait, or if you keep him for a year and then have him for next season and the year prior, well, then it becomes a salary or a contract that is expiring, and that makes it actually enticing to have on your team. We got more on Tyler Herro in just a second and what the Heat could trade him for if it wasn't for an All-NBA or All-Star caliber player. But we are sponsored by PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app on the market. And get started today and get a first deposit match up to $100 when you use code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS. It's so easy to play. You just pick more, pick less on 2 or more player stat projections, and you could win up to 100 times your money right now during the postseason in both the NHL, NBA, MLB seasons rolling around with as little as 4 correct entries. I got a little entry for tonight's Mavericks Timberwolves Game 1. Less than Kyrie Irving, 21.5 points, less than Derek Lively, 7.5 points, and then more than on Anthony Edwards and Luka Doncic combined, 56.5 points. This is a 3-player entry to win 5 times your money, but the reason why I love PrizePicks is because it's so versatile, right? I'm just going standard here, but you see the combo. Not many other places offer 2-player stats comboed together, but they also have demons, goblins to raise your winnings potentially, lower your winnings, but lower your risk. Flex Friday. They also got daily specials. Like, they have it all over at PrizePicks. So get started today. Download the app and use code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. Or you could go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. PrizePicks, that easy. All right, let's get back to Tyler Herro, because I think you should trade Tyler Herro even if you can't get an All-Star or All-NBA caliber player this offseason. So obviously the player that we all want, at least is what I want and I think most Heat fans want, is Donovan Mitchell. That is the missing piece that many people believe for the Heat. Well, if you can't use Tyler to get him and he re-signs or is dealt elsewhere, well, I don't want to just say we'll trade Tyler Herro for like a different star that doesn't fit. Like Brandon Ingram, for example. Like, does he fit with Miami? I'm not sure. Would we use Tyler to get him? I don't know. But there are teams that have interest in Tyler Herro, or at least there has been rumored interest in Herro. This all goes back to last season, and then Ethan Skolnick of 5 Reasons Sports Network kind of doubled down that he thinks they still would have interest. And those two teams are the Brooklyn Nets and the San Antonio Spurs. Now, if the Heat actually ended up trading for Damian Lillard a year ago, I think it would have been a 3-team deal. Now, it obviously was never discussed, but I think Brooklyn or San Antonio were going to try to jump in as a third team to get Herro and maybe send some more assets to the Trailblazers. So I looked at these two teams and thought, well, if they still had interest in Tyler, what could be a lateral move for Miami to switch up this roster? Number one hypothetical trade idea. You send Herro to Brooklyn with the Nets for Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Schroeder. Now, Schroeder has 1 year left on his deal for $13 million. You can use Schroeder as your sixth man off the bench and backup point guard to Terry Rozier, and you let Terry take the reins in the backcourt. And if that doesn't work out, you could use that expiring contract to flip at the deadline. But the main headliner you get in return for Tyler Herro is Dorian Finney-Smith, who is a perfect match for the Miami Heat, right? Excellent defender, can switch 4-through-2 defensively, slides in perfectly next to Jimmy, and Bam can shoot the 3 ball. The salaries match. You actually save $2 or $3 million against the cap in this deal. Now, you don't get picks. You don't have to give up any picks. I don't know if Brooklyn would do this, but if they're running and committing to a build of Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and Nick Claxton, they need a scoring guard. And if they're not high on Cam Thomas long term, maybe they do deal Dorian Finney-Smith and Schroeder to get Tyler Herro. And I think Miami would get flexibility, and it would help them defensively like a PJ Tucker role with DFS. Now, how about the Spurs? Now, this one's really intriguing if you ask me. You send Herro to San Antonio. You get a backup center in Zach Collins, who is a former first-round pick, has done some nice things. He's 6'11". He can defend. He worked with and behind Wemby a year ago. But you also get a 2025 first-round pick that is via the Chicago Bulls that is top 10 protected, so it might convey, it might not convey. But here's also something that takes note of this trade right here. Because the Spurs have cap space, they can take on Herro's $29 million for next season. Collins only has a cap hit of 15 or 16 mil, which means you save $13 million on the cap if you were to make this deal. Which, what does that do for Miami? Oh, look at that. It brings you below the first apron in the luxury tax. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means you could go out and sign more free agents. You can re-sign Caleb Martin potentially. So that deal right there would net you a backup center that Heat fans know we desperately need because Collins is a better defensive center than Thomas Bryant, and he can give you some nice stuff offensively in 15 to 16 minutes a game. But it would also give you another first-round pick that you can move in another deal if you so choose to. And say the Cavs don't want Tyler Herro. Well, you make that deal, you have an extra first-round pick to attach to Jaime Jaquez Jr. and Nikola Jovic, potentially. Saving the money, allowing you to get flexibility. There's really flexibility in both, right? Because with the second trade with the Spurs, you get a backup center, a future first-round pick, and cap space to use in free agency. That's a lot of flexibility. And then with number one, with the Brooklyn Nets, you get two guys on your roster that fits really well, but you could also have the flexibility of moving Schroeder as an expiring contract during the season at the NBA trade deadline. I'm a fan and potentially could see these two trades happening. Now, probably not, but I do think they're trades that if I was GM of the Miami Heat, I would seriously consider. Now, we talked about these two deals, and I'm curious to see which one you would rather do, given what I mentioned about each player that you'd receive in return for Tyler Herro, the flexibility that it brings. Which trade do you prefer? Do you prefer the first one, where you get Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Schroeder for Tyler Herro, or do you prefer the second one, where you get a backup center in Zach Collins, a future first-round pick, and $13 million in cap space, which could be used very nicely? All right, let's just put a little cherry on top of today's video with a final summary, because I want to revisit the first portion. The Herro's mansion selling, or sale if you will, does not mean he has already been told by Pat Riley he is being dealt. That is not the case whatsoever, and I don't expect Pat Riley to work in absolutes and tell Tyler, yeah, you're on the move this early in the offseason. But I do still believe the Heat should move Herro, whether it be for an all-star / all-NBA guy or a lateral move to bring more players that fit Miami in Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler as a duo, but also provide you some roster and cap flexibility, including the NBA draft. I think the Heat should and would absolutely explore that avenue. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff because the conversation around the Miami Heat is never dying. So if you want to hit me up, ask me a question, or just talk about Miami, give me a follow at Nic_Rohloff.